from RTV6, Indianapolis This Week.
Welcome to Indianapolis This Week. Up first today, the decision that will impact hundreds of students, parents, and teachers in Indianapolis. The IPS school board is scheduled to make a final decision tomorrow on closing 3 high schools: Broad Ripple, Arlington, and Northwest. Ahead of that key vote, I talked one-on-one with IPS Superintendent Dr. Ferebee and an exclusive interview about the decision and the potential impact to this community. Why does IPS need to close high schools?
Yeah, so we don't really view this as just a closure. We view this as a reinvention of the IPS high school experience. And so we're focused on ensuring that our students are prepared for college and career once they leave us. And this is an opportunity to enrich the high school experience through our career academies, strategically utilizing resources in a different way, and ultimately, as I mentioned earlier, giving our high school students a better opportunity with a leg up for college and career.
Why is enrollment in IPS declining?
So actually, our enrollment has been pretty steady over the last couple years. There was a decade when we were losing about 1,000 students a year, but over the last 3 or 4 years, we've had steady enrollment. As we look at the enrollment for this school year, it appears to be pretty steady as well. We may see a tick up. The challenge has been underutilization has been an issue for our secondary schools for a while. The strategy to address that was to combine middle and high school students together on campuses, and that has not served our middle school and high school students well. So as we move middle school students out of those campuses, we are challenged with low utilization of our high school facilities.
And what does that mean for the district when you have a building that, say, maybe is a quarter or a third of the way full?
There are many challenges. So there's safety challenges. If you're not using the building's full capacity, students can spread themselves out throughout the building. There's challenges with just our course offerings, what we're able to offer students. If you have, for example, a high school with 400 students, about 100 students per grade level, there's limitations in what you can offer students compared to having 1,200 students on a campus and you have 300 students per grade level. And so those are some of the challenges that we're up against and the underutilization of our facility. Obviously, the operating costs are much more expensive when you have challenges with utilization. But ultimately, this plan is an academic plan to provide our students with a better academic experience and also all the extracurriculars and enrichment activities that go along with the high school experience.
Do you have any concerns when it comes to logistics, teachers' positions, busing?
Yeah, there are always concerns when you have a big transition like this. It's something that I worry about, and I know that the staff has been planning for. As a part of this transition, we will move to an all-choice high school model where students will choose their high school by what they're interested in, associated with our career academies, which is really different being assigned to a high school by where you live. But with that, we have to shift our transportation model, which is why we recommended that the high schools to remain be centrally located to give us an opportunity to easily get students to and from school without extending the time for the bus rides for students. It's also a way of giving all of our high school students choice. We've seen when students choose their high school experience, they typically perform better.
What do you tell parents and students who may be anxious ahead of finding out which schools will be closed?
Yeah, I think the first thing that we must acknowledge is there needs to be a grieving period. This will be a loss for some of our students and families and alumni, and we need to acknowledge that and give it its proper course. And we understand that these are value assets. Our public schools are a part of the neighborhoods and could have an impact on the neighborhoods around the school, and we'll be very conscious of that. And so we want to grieve and give people opportunity to express their concern about the next steps, and then we'll go into conversations with staff and what that means for them, and then also our students and their families to ensure that they know that this will be a seamless transition, but also talk them through how students can make choices around our academy model.
Do you think IPS's reputation is damaged?
I think everybody's reputation is work in progress. So we've made improvements with rebranding the district with my IPS. We've expanded our choice options, which I think is a core value for our Board of Commissioners and I in terms of giving students as many options as possible. But we've also pushed the envelope on innovation and partnerships and being progressive in our thinking, which some people value and some people haven't valued. But it's all centered around ensuring that our students get a better education, and we want a quality school in every neighborhood at every grade level. We'll continue to do the work to make that happen, and I think as we continue to make progress with that, ultimately IPS will be viewed as a flagship school district for Indianapolis and Marion County and a flagship public school district across the nation.
Switching gears, President Trump is reaching across the aisle to try to earn support for his tax reform plan. Senator Joe Donnelly was one of 3 Democrats invited to attend a bipartisan dinner at the White House. Donnelly says he had a good conversation with the president about his own proposal to end the outsourcing of jobs. He says he thinks any tax reform should include measures to penalize companies that ship jobs overseas.
I want to make sure that it is for the middle class. We haven't seen details yet. So, we can talk about things, but we're very hopeful to see things here in the very near future. That if it skews towards the very, very wealthiest, if it skews in a way that it makes the deficit much higher, those are kind of things that you look at and you go, you know what, that's not going to work for us. I also talked to him about trying to make sure we could keep jobs here in our country in situations like Carrier, that we have programs in place in the tax law that can be helpful to keep jobs here as opposed to going elsewhere, and he was very much in favor of that.
A stunning sight in Columbus, Indiana, the hometown of Vice President Mike Pence. A white supremacist group has staged a low-key practice march. The mayor is condemning it, and people who saw it are unnerved. Our Derek Thomas went to Columbus looking for answers.
Julie Lowe and her family were eating dinner at this restaurant when the men marched by. It was her birthday, but their presence was not a gift.
My husband said, that's hate. Those men are here for hate.
According to their own website, one of the leaders writes, "Now is not the time for unity. It's not the time for love. It's the time for disunity and hate." Columbus police reviewed surveillance video in the 400 block of Washington Street. These are pictures that show 12 to 15 men conducting a practice march. The Traditionalist Worker Party also posted this picture on Facebook, saying it was proud to host a meeting this weekend and described an amazing turnout. Back at the restaurant, Julie Lowe believed her birthday celebration was ruined.
I wanted to go home because they were still marching. And I had my sons with me, an 11-year-old and a 19-year-old, and it made us extremely uncomfortable. But my husband said, no, we're going to go on with our plans and walk around in our city.
Lowe did file a police report. However, the group exercised its First Amendment rights and broke no laws.
It's certainly contrary to the spirit of our community. Columbus is a very diverse place with people who come here from all over the world to live and to work. So it's definitely disappointing.
In addition, the mayor issued a statement that said it is equally important to denounce this group. The city of Columbus does not support the racist ideology upon which this group was founded. We tried to get a comment from the Traditionalist Worker Party without success. But the Southern Poverty Law Center says the group is intimately allied with neo-Nazi and other hardline racist organizations that espouse unvarnished white supremacist views. Derek Thomas, RTV6.
The Traditionalist Worker Party was founded in Cincinnati in 2015, but right now one of its leaders is Matthew Heimbach, a man Call 6 investigates has been following since last year. Heimbach was fired from his job with the Department of Child Services following complaints about his social media posts on white nationalism. Heimbach now lives in Paoli. He and his followers were prominently featured at the violent Charlottesville demonstrations. Up ahead, the bipartisan dinner on tax reform. What's at stake for both parties? And the IPS restructuring vote. Our political insiders are here to break it all down next.
Fun, friendly Honda of Fishers.
Welcome back. Conservative Abdul Hakim Shabazz, Democrat Adam Kirsch, and WIBC State House Bureau Chief Eric Berman. Thank you all for being here.
He gets the longest title, by the way.
He's got the longest title, definitely.
I have call letters to get in.
Let's start with the president and the week in Washington. The president met with Democrats to try and work on a deal on DACA and immigration, rather. What do you make of this meeting, of this work across the aisle?
I'm not entirely sure yet. I mean, it's certainly unusual. It's certainly noteworthy. I think it will be more noteworthy if and when we reach the point where he's getting both parties together to make a deal. And what we've seen the last couple of weeks is a couple of deals where he dropped one team jersey and put on the other one, and Republicans are saying, wait, what? When we really see the art of the deal, it'll be when you can somehow bring together these two warring sides. But that said, I don't mean to underestimate this. The fact that something is moving after months where nothing was moving in Washington, that's an accomplishment if this DACA deal in fact happens.
Well, we'll see what it means. I think Eric's right. Well, the only constant in the Trump administration has been that everything happens in an erratic manner. We saw deal came out on, I think it was Wednesday evening, and by Thursday morning there was no deal. So we'll see where it goes.
I think what Donald Trump is doing is kind of bringing back some of his business acumen, which is, hey, if I can't cut a deal with you guys, I'll go talk to your competitors over here and see if I can get a better deal. So none of this really surprises me now. The question is, was it a deal or was it a framework? I think at the end of the day, like folks said, the ball is moving to take care of these 800,000 million or so kids who are here to no fault of their own. Now, this is what you got to do to get it done. I don't see what the problem is.
Abdul, how do Republicans feel about that work to go to Democrats to try and strike a deal?
I jokingly say it's like you told me you were home doing your hair and I find you at dinner with Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer. This is the thanks I get. I work and I slave for you, and then you go have dinner with these guys. Obviously, Mitch McConnell, Paul Ryan, not too happy, but once again, it shows that Donald Trump is not necessarily a Republican. Donald Trump is Donald Trump, and Donald Trump will do what he thinks he needs to do to get a deal done.
Well, let's be clear. Donald Trump is a Republican. He was nominated by the Republican Party. He is the leader of the Republican Party. So why they don't want to vote for his ideas, I don't know. Most of them are in the Republican platform, and they've campaigned on them for many years.
Some media outlets, both the Post and the New York Times, did pieces saying Donald Trump is governing as an independent, and they took a lot of flack for that. Based on these last couple of weeks, I said several months ago that a Trump administration, at least on the domestic front, might look like Jesse Ventura in Minnesota. This is kind of a Ventura-like couple of weeks.
Adam, I want to start with you on this one. On Donnelly's attendance at that bipartisan dinner on tax reform in a state where we saw Trump win by 19 points, how does Donnelly move over enough Trump votes without alienating his Democratic base?
Well, I think the thing that people like us want to talk about the politics. Joe Donnelly spent his entire career not focusing on the politics, but focusing on what's the best for Indiana. He'll oppose Donald Trump when it hurts Indiana, and he'll work with him when it benefits Hoosiers.
And if you look at the actual data record, there was an analysis done of all the congressional voting records. Joe Donnelly actually votes with Donald Trump about 50% of the time. So he literally is right down the middle of the road type Democrat. And I think also what it shows is it diffuses the Todd Rokitas and Luke Messers of this world who are trying to have that Trump mantle. And Joe Donnelly saying, hey, look, I'm willing to work with the president when I think it's good, and I'll disagree with him when I think it's bad. So it's a brilliant move.
Yeah, at the end of the day, I doubt it has much political impact on next year's race. I think this sort of sinks without a trace. But it does give him a counter-argument when either Congressman Rokita or Congressman Messer or whoever the nominee is tries to make that argument. Hey, look, I've gotten some things done. President Trump is willing to work with me. That's what you want in a senator.
Vice President Mike Pence's press secretary, Mark Lauder, who people in central Indiana are likely familiar with, leaving. We just got word of that, leaving the administration to be an outside surrogate. What do you make of that role? What do you make of some of the departures we've seen in the administration as of recent?
It's a little bit surprising. I mean, there have been a lot of departures at the presidential level. There's been a couple at the vice presidential level now. He lost his chief of staff earlier on. They've both sort of stayed in the Trump-Pence orbit. Mark Lauder apparently is going to be an outside surrogate going on the cable shows and making the case for the administration. So the ones who have left the Pence side of things haven't gone that far away, but still another person moving up. But one thing that may be part of this, I'm not sure to what extent Mark Lauder expected to be in Washington at this time in 2017. At this time, well, maybe in June of 2016, this was kind of unexpected, and then all of a sudden, if you'll recall, Mike Pence going on the ticket came together very quickly, and Mark Lauder went along for the ride.
Well, I think the other thing is I guess it was about a month ago, we were sitting on this program talking about, is Mike Pence preparing to run in 2020? I think this is yet another sign that he is preparing to run if that eventuality presents itself.
Do you agree?
I just think it would be good that I can now finally get my good friend to return my phone calls and not tell me he's in a meeting with the vice president.
Real quickly, IPS restructuring, it's a big vote, likely to happen tomorrow. Do you think there is a way to reverse the trend of declining enrollment?
I had a conversation with IPS School Board President Marianne Sullivan Friday afternoon. Unless some major asteroid hits the planet, it looks like that restructuring plan is going to go forward. And one of the things that they are definitely doing is working with those parents, with those students that are going to be most affected by this, to make sure that the school district gets those folks information and services they need about the new high schools that they'll be going to. I think it's good for IPS, good for the district. The trick is they just got to keep that communication and keep reaching out to those affected parents and families.
Well, I went back and looked. This is about the 6th restructuring plan in the last 12 years IPS has undergone, starting in 2005 with the largest overhaul in the country. IPS continues to restructure and restructure, and I think the teachers and parents of IPS know better what to do than the politicians who are running the school district.
Eric, last word.
Restructuring sounds better than downsizing, but if a company did this, we'd call it a downsizing. I mean, they've got more students or more buildings than they need for the available students. This was kind of inevitable. It doesn't make it any less sad for the parents in the districts.
Okay, thank you all. Up ahead, honoring our fallen law enforcement officers. 2 tributes to 2 men. Central Indiana continues to mourn. Up ahead.
Rallies and checkers. Fast foodies know the deal.
As we just told you during our Insider segment, another shakeup at the White House as the press secretary for Vice President Mike Pence is leaving his position. Reports say Mark Lauder will do outreach and surrogate work for the Trump administration. Lauder joined Pence during last year's campaign. He says he was honored to serve the president and the vice president, and says he looks forward to promoting the president's accomplishments and agenda from outside the administration. Law enforcement agencies from around the world are honoring a Hoosier hero. Indiana Going Blue has collected close to 600 patches for the family of fallen Southport Police Lieutenant Aaron Allen. A post on the community organization's Facebook page has reached departments from every corner of the state, many parts of the country, and other parts of the world. Many of the patches, once on officers' uniforms, have been mailed with handwritten notes.
One of the things we always talk about is the big brotherhood in police work, and I think this shows it more than anything. You know, all these patches, they're from all over the world. We've got some from London, Quebec, Japan, so it means a lot.
Members of Indiana Going Blue plan to sew the patches into 3 quilts. They plan to give one to Allen's mother, widow, and son. It's been almost 2 months since we tragically lost Deputy IMPD Chief James Waters in a car crash. This week, a permanent legacy is revealed. RTV6's Rafael Sanchez has the story.
Former Metro Police Deputy Chief Jim Waters' legacy will live on among young people seeking a career in law enforcement. A scholarship bearing his name was announced at the Indiana Latino Institute Heritage Luncheon at the JW Marriott. His wife and family accepted on his behalf. Former friend Charlie Garcia and his wife Billy Dragoo Garcia will support an annual $5,000 scholarship for the next 5 years.
He was an amazing man and was very supportive of Latino community overall in Indianapolis, Central Indiana. So in his honor, my wife and I, Billy, are dedicating this $25,000 scholarship in his name.
Waters died in July and was honored with a funeral attended by thousands. The veteran officer once served as commander of East District, where he found ways to bridge the cultural gap with the growing Spanish-speaking community and other emerging minority groups.
Well, I think it's a responsibility of everybody in our city and state that has the ability to give back in a fashion that my husband and I are going to be able to today. To help support education, to help support other opportunities for children in our city and state.
To a standing ovation, the Waters family accepted the honor with heavy hearts, but with high hopes for that future college-bound student willing to serve and protect.
Rafael Sanchez reporting for us. Organizers have asked Mrs. Waters to help them pick the student to receive the very first award. That scholarship is set to be handed out in the summer of 2018. And Lauren Casey joins us next with what's happening around town that you need to know about. The 6 is next on Indianapolis.
An array of hope and light the night. Our temperature is expected to warm up very quickly, and with the heat and the humidity in place and the system approaching from the west, a few showers and storms are possible, but the better chance is going to be much later in the day. You see, this is after 8 p.m. I think some showers and storms will be rolling into the state, and we'll watch for that chance to pretty much diminish by midnight, but we may pick this up again over the next several days when we add in that heat and humidity. By the way, tracking 3 tropical systems. Jose expected to move to the north. We'll have to keep an eye on Maria as it moves into the islands and is expected to become a hurricane yet again. Where will it head after that? Well, that's something we'll have to watch over the next several days, as we could see another impact from a hurricane in the Caribbean. 85, though, a little closer to home is what we're expecting. Again, that chance for showers and storms is much later in the day. I think most of your day is actually going to be quite nice. Temperatures in the 80s. The entire 7-day forecast. A few showers possible here. That'll stick around through Wednesday. After that, we warm things up into the mid to upper 80s.
Welcome back to Indianapolis This Week. I'm Lauren Casey. It's time for the 6, so let's take a look at 6 things happening this week in Indy. Let's start with an event for anyone that's looking for a job near Anderson. The Hire Anderson Job Fair at Mounds Mall is this Thursday. The event runs from 11 until 3. Don't forget to bring several copies of your resume. Families in Fishers, you can head on out next weekend to the Oktoberfest. This event features live music, food, and of course some beer and games. The Fishers Oktoberfest is Friday, September 22nd and Saturday, September 23rd at Witten Park off 131st Street and Oleo Road. Well, come on out, celebrate Chinese culture this weekend with a Chinese Fest in downtown Indy. This festival is on Saturday at Wood Plaza at IUPUI. Come on out from noon until 6 for the lions, dragons, and drums. Or you can challenge yourself to a corn maze like this one up here at Connor Prairie. This 7-acre new corn maze is just $5 to walk through, and it should only take you about 30 minutes to solve. This opens to the public on Saturday. Good luck. Or you could roll up your pant legs, head on up to Zionsville. Hopwood Cellars is hosting a big grape stomping event on Saturday. They need your help stomping 800 pounds of grapes. This will all take place on Cedar Street in downtown Zionsville. And it's a big weekend right here in downtown Indy. Circle City Classic is back. That means you can watch the parade on Saturday, enjoy a football game between Kentucky State and Central State in the afternoon. Battle of the Bands will take over the halftime show, and of course there's the after party. This one's at Pan Am Plaza on Saturday night. That's what's on tap this week in Indy. Back to you.
And thanks for joining us for Indianapolis This Week. For Raphael and our entire team, have a great week ahead.